Lessons learned while traveling with infant twins during COVID. It's a lot. There's just so many moving parts when you're traveling in general. And then you add in infant twins. Our twins are now 18 months. They're boy girl twins, which makes it kind of fun because you get the two different sides of the personalities. So there's lots of things that we have learned. We have now been on like I think it's like 9 12 hour plus road trips, and we just took our first flight with the twins. And there's some things that kind of you start modifying because when I used to travel just with a backpack. I love not checking bags. Can't quite do that with twins yet. At some point we will once they start being able to carry their own stuff. But being the fact that they are 18 months, we learned a lot in this trip. So, number one, baby proofing. We went to Puerto Rico this time around, and wonderful place, but it was definitely not designed for kids. So they had a spare room, and it was just my wife and I and the twins. And so we moved like everything in their apartment into their spare room because they had some breakable stuff. The twins were getting into things, so we just literally like picked everything that we didn't want them to touch and put them in the spare room and locked that door. So that's a kind of a neat way just to start baby proofing. But bring things that were going to help you. Zip ties are a godsend when it comes to twins because they had lots of cabinets in their kitchen. So we just zip tied the cabinets closed, and the twins couldn't get in. So little things like that to kind of think about where you're going and how you can start baby proofing wherever it is you're going to be. Number two, uh, this is actually something somebody told us on the plane, and I thought it was a really cool statement. They said baby screams are louder to you, be you being the parent, than others on the plane. And I thought this was really cool. We actually talked to a couple of people on the plane, and the twins actually did very well. The first leg of the plane, they had a nap right before, and they pretty much enjoyed the flight. And the second leg, they were much more tired, and they did not exactly have a happy journey. And one of the other ladies on the plane that was sitting very close to us in proximity, she kind of turned to us and says, "Don't worry, that your twins are doing amazing, and they're really not as loud as you think they are." And I thought, what a wonderful comment, and such a nice lady too. We ended up talking with her for a while. But you're kind of in tuned with your baby, right? So when they scream, you feel it, and then you start thinking about all the other people and how they're like going to be annoyed, and it's really a lot less of a problem than you think it is. Number three, expect to sleep with your babies. You don't have the comforts of home. Their cribs, their all their little fun gadgets and toys that you pick up over time. So what we ended up doing is getting two queen beds, or yeah, it was two queen beds, and my wife slept with one baby and I slept with the other baby. That way, they didn't fear rolling out of bed. Now, there's other ways you can go. You can buy like a crib there, for example, and kind of just leave it there with the host family, or we did VRBO, by the way. We prefer that over hotels just because we like seeing more local than we do tourist stuff. But we find that, just co sleeping, and, you know, there's a whole theory on co sleeping, but we'll leave that for a different talk. But it's kind of fun because then you can just kind of take naps with them, and building in naps is always a good thing. Um, know that you're always going to bring more than you actually need. There was a large, not a large percent, maybe like 20% of the stuff that we bought we didn't actually end up using. So now we know we don't need to bring that. In emergencies, you can always buy something there. So you can always take less than you actually think. Um, but they're going to be in a new environment. They love exploring, and you don't need to bring a lot of toys because the new environment is their toy. They're going to find things to play with, they're going to find new things to touch and explore and bite on and chew on, and that's just part of the fun. So you don't need to bring a lot of stuff with them. Bring one or two things per kid, and that'll be enough. In terms of clothes, I usually say 4 to 6 days worth of clothes. And on the plane, bring one spare, and then in your check bags or whatever, 4 to 6 days. Because I like to do laundry while I'm traveling. That lightens my pack or lightens my bag. I can bring less stuff, don't have to worry about it. And if you don't have a laundry, don't worry about it. You got the sink. Just do the old school, wring out your clothes, put them on a hanger, and off they'll dry. And that way, no matter where you are, be it a hotel room or in a place that just doesn't have washers and dryers, you can always find a way to wash your clothes. So don't sweat not bringing so many clothes. Number 5, don't expect relaxation. With twins, everything is an adventure. You don't really know what's going to be the plan, what's going to happen, how are they going to feel that day, and just roll with it, right? They're kind of your fun wrapped into whatever else it is you're doing. So keep your expectations real to whatever your abilities of your twins are. We've kind of been doing hikes and walks with them, so they're kind of already in that mindset of, hey, let's go on an adventure. But even still, they're still learning. They still have their fears and everything that goes with an 18-month-year-old. So they're going to throw curveballs at you and just kind of love the moment with them. So we went to the forest, for example, and one of the hikes I think was like 16 miles. I mean, obviously that's not something an 18-month-year-old can do. So we ended up doing like the 1 mile trails, and we did 3 1 mile trails. And we ended up carrying them some of the ways, and they walked some of the ways. And because we just did short trips, we went back to the car, had some food, relaxed a little bit, and then went on the next one. And so we kind of kept that moving. When we went to the beach, the water was fairly calm where we were, but they're still learning kind of how to swim and how to float and all that stuff. So, we kept it in the 1 to 2 foot water range, and they were fine for the most part. And I suggest doing a little bit of arm strength training before you go on a trip, just because you do end up carrying them more than you think you might. And we thought about using the harnesses because we have harnesses for when we go hiking. But we ended up taking the stroller this time, and I thought that worked out very, very well. And do believe in yourself. You can do way more than you think you can. They'll have surprising amount of energy, and so will you, because you're excited by their excitement. So you can kind of use that and kind of snowball into doing some really cool things. Don't be afraid to push yourself and go big, but build in the escape plan. For example, when we were hiking, right, we went on the mile-long hikes, but did several of them. So that was kind of our escape. The worst case scenario, we just have a little bit of ways to go to get back to our car, get back to that kind of safe place. And when we travel, we don't like to book every moment of the day. It just gets too stressful. You're there to kind of relax a little bit and enjoy. So really pick the highlights that you want to do. So one day we want to do the forest. One day we want to do Old San Juan. One day we wanted to do exclusively the beach. And then one day we left kind of open to however we're feeling. So no matter how long your stay is, just kind of plan the highlights and then allow the moment to dictate what you're going to do between those big moments. These will surprise you on the stuff that you'll kind of figure out, and things just kind of materialize while you're on travel. It's a fun experiment. And obviously we're living in COVID era. Know your rules. Every place has a different rule set of what you can and can't do during this COVID interesting days we have. For us, the rules were always wear a mask if you're in public. Almost every single place took our temperature. Then they sprayed disinfectant in your hand, and then they expected you to rub your hands like you're washing them. Social distancing, your standard 6 feet. For us to go to Puerto Rico, we actually had to get tested 72 hours before our trip. They won't let you in the country if you haven't. So you can do a rapid test when you get there, but then I believe it's like $100 or $150 they charge you. So I recommend getting tested beforehand. And if you're positive when you get there, they basically send you back. So it's definitely better to get tested beforehand. Bring sanitation wipes. I prefer the wipes and not the sprays because it's easier for plane rides, and it works as baby wipes as well. Check to see if your locations need reservations. For example, the El Yunque Forest required us to schedule us when we could arrive at the forest. So not all places are open, and then some things have certain restrictions. So just kind of be aware of what you want to do and plan a little bit ahead. Number 9, we love strollers. We have a side-by-side and a front and back. We love the side-by-side when we're jogging or hiking, just because there's a lot more mobility in a 3-wheel, and you can go much faster. The problem with it is it's so wide, you can't get into many places. So in an old town especially, where you have smaller roads and smaller facilities, the front and back is much better in that environment. So we decided to take the front back stroller. And it worked out pretty well. I would have preferred to go purely backpack carriers, but for this trip we're going into towns and stuff like that. We really wanted that stroller to pack. It's a little extra food for them. Let's see, number 10, water bottles. We brought 2 water bottles, one for my wife, one for me, and then we had a third for the twins. And it works out really well because there's lots of places to refill your water bottles, and it comes into so many handy places because you still have formula at this point. They get dirty, so you need to wash them off. It's winter, but it's still down there. It's like set 80-ish degrees, and then you have the heat index. So we had to, kind of drip some water on them to cool them off a little bit. So just having that little extra water comes in pretty handy. Number 11, dry snacks. Amazing. With extra weight, it's just more to pack. So the lighter you can make all your stuff, the better. So we bring things like dates, high energy, in a very compact form, and the kids just love them because they're slightly sweet. There's these freezer-dried foods, fruits especially, that are kind of like ice cream for space. If you've ever had those, they're kind of almost on that little chalky form, but they taste exactly like you would expect them to, and they almost kind of melt in your mouth, so that it's a real fun experience for the kids to eat. And then some kind of dried cereal, whether it's trail mix or Cheerios or whatever your cereal of choice is. And that way you don't have to have liquids with you for it, and whenever they're hungry you can just hand it over to them and they just love it. And last but not least, kind of my homage a little bit, is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Bring a towel. There's so many uses for a towel, for warmth or lying down or protection, or as Hitchhiker says, hand-to-hand combat. But it's fun if you've never read the book. There's just so many uses of a towel. And when we were in the rainforest, we got rained on, of course, and just wiping things down, keeping the twins dry and happy. So I hope these 12 rules or recommendations hit you well today. If you have any questions or want to see some more pictures, send me a message and I'd love to talk with you. Otherwise, enjoy your travels and we'll see you next time.